What is going on? It's your boy Edward, and today in the Boxing Weekly segments, we're going to talk about the impossible story of Joe Smith Jr. So Joe Smith Jr. was born September 20th, 1989, so he is now currently 26 years old. Joe Smith started boxing at the age of 13, winning some prestigious titles when he was young, going through the amateur ranks. He was the junior Olympic champion in 2004, 5, and 6, Empire State champion in 2006, 7, and 8, also the New York Metro champion for 2006, 7, 8, and also 2009. He was born in Long Island, New York, so he is a native New Yorker with Irish descent. Even though he had all these accolades in the amateur ranks, he only had 50 fights. And the fact that he had only 50 fights lends itself to the fact that people felt that he wasn't a top-level fighter. And he also suffered a knockout loss when he went into the professional ranks earlier in his career. As the oldest sibling of 7 brothers and 1 sister, he took up boxing when he was 13 to keep himself out of trouble and also to be a role model to his brothers and his sister. Normally, high-level fighters go through world tournaments with international fighters that are at high levels, and he did not do that. He had a lot of local tournaments that he won decisively, but yet they were local. He never actually tested himself in the international arena. So if you fast forward to his pro career, having that 1 loss added to the fact that he probably wasn't going to be this big star that everybody thought he was. But he started racking up these wins. He racked up wins, and they were knockout wins as well that he was racking up, and it made people take notice. All of his fights, however, were in the northeastern section, so he was always fighting like in New York, Barclays Center, or Long Island, or in that vicinity. So they also kind of felt like he was a good old local guy, but he wasn't going to do anything in the big stage. And this is when a perfect storm can brew for something amazing to happen, like what happened with Joe Smith Jr. You see, the thing is, every once in a while, there's always a fighter that has that passion and doesn't let the big lights or the pressure do anything to them. They're numb to that pressure, and they're able to perform at a high level against someone who is supposedly a high level fighter. But those people are rare. So if you have a good record but haven't been proven and then had an early knockdown, it makes high level fighters feel that you are ripe for the picking. And the reason they feel this way is because they think that your record is just smoke and mirrors. You didn't really fight anybody of worth, and when you did fight someone that wasn't of worth, you did get knocked out as well. And then when they look into your amateur history, you didn't do any international tournaments. You're not that big of a deal. But every once in a while, just like in 2016 with Joe Smith Jr., sometimes they miscalculate. Joe Smith Jr. clearly was not bothered by the pressure. And even though he was a union worker for Local 66 in Long Island as a construction worker, yes, literally jackhammering, literally hammering cement, putting on materials with a construction hat, he still took the fights when they were offered to him. He signed with the company Star Boxing even after his knockout, and then rose up the ranks. And then it happened. Fonfara said, "I want my easy win." He got a nice record. He's in my weight class. Bring him to me. I'll beat him, and then maybe I'll get something bigger down the line. So Joe Smith answered the call, and in the most incredible one-sided reverse fight, and I say this is a one-sided reverse fight because everybody was boo-hooing Fonfara for picking Joe Smith Jr. because they knew what he was doing. He wanted an easy win, but it turned out to be a horrific night for Fonfara because Joe Smith Jr. did the unimaginable, not the unthinkable, the unimaginable. He knocked him out in the first round, completely crushed him with a right. Fonfara got up, and then Joe Smith Jr. finished him off. That in and of itself was an amazing story. He got called to come up, and he did what he needed to do. He beat Fonfara. He went back to work. He went back to Long Island, went back to his co-workers, had his lunch packed, had his hat, and said, "Hey guys, you know, I beat him, man. I beat him. I beat Fonfara. It was amazing." And his friends were there, happy. His daughter, his family was happy. But then he got one more call, and this was the perfect storm for Joe Smith Jr. Hopkins' team and HBO called Joe Smith Jr. and asked, "Is he willing to go ahead and fight Bernard Hopkins?" Now you see what HBO was trying to do was they saw his record, they saw his early knockdown, they saw his amateur record, and they saw the Fonfara win and noticed that it was just a first round knockout. Did the calculation in their mind and said, "Hey, this is just a fluke. But on paper, this is gonna make you look good, Bernard. So take this fight. Forget about trying to get titles, forget about anything. This is your last fight. You wanna go out winning, and you want to go out winning with somebody with a good record who just got an upset over Fonfara, this is the perfect victim, Joe Smith Jr. So I could just imagine Bernard smiled and said, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to take this fight. This is going to be my perfect send-off." Zero coverage was given to Joe Smith Jr. He was not even the slightest bit the story of what was going to go down on fight night. It was all about Bernard Hopkins. Videos were made about Bernard Hopkins, not even mentioning his opponent. The only time you even got a glimpse of Joe Smith Jr. was when he was in the press conference. And even the final press tour, Bernard Hopkins was talking down to Joe Smith Jr. "You're average, I'm great. You're common, I'm not. I'm amazing. You're regular." And it was almost like poetic justice because of his name, Joe Smith, one of the most common names, probably right behind John Smith. The crazy thing is, he never seemed flustered. He never seemed worried about the moment. He never seemed pressured. One thing you can tell when someone's not ready, they have this jitteriness to them, or they have this nervousness where they're looking around, and he almost seemed bored by the whole thing. And then came fight night, and a real-life Rocky story was born. Holding his own toe-to-toe with Bernard Hopkins, Joe Smith Jr. became the first man ever to win by knockout. And he knocked him out in such a spectacular fashion that it was up there with potential knockouts of the year. And with that fight right there, he ascended to a different level. He's no longer just that guy from Long Island. He's Joe Smith Jr. Now we are forced to remember his name, even if you like it or not. Put the exclamation mark on his story, because even though he won that fight, he didn't change who he was. He went right back to his construction company, went right back to his friends, got his lunchbox, put on his hard hat, and went right back to work. It was all in a day's work for Joe Smith Jr. And I want to personally say thank you for giving us such a sleeper story. Not a lot of people are paying attention to, not a lot of people are touching on, but Joe Smith Jr. gave us a true-to-life Rocky story. And if you look deep into it, you can truly see how amazing what he did by being Fonfara and by knocking out Hopkins truly is. You went out there to win, and you did in spectacular fashion. This is Edward from Boxing Fanatico. Peace.